Joining me today is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute and team orthopedic surgeon for the Jacksonville Jags. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be back on the show.
Good. It's been a while since we've talked, and I know that most people right now, of course, the Jags aren't playing, but this is actually a busy time for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the process right now of going through all of the draft players, the potential draft players. We did the NFL Combines end of February. We saw about 29 players, trying to rate them and figure out, medically speaking, what their risks are. And obviously, we're still dealing with all of the players from last season and the guys that had surgeries and the guys that are rehabbing and trying to get them ready. It's a short period between end of the season to OTAs. So people think it's this huge gap because as fans it feels like, man,
Sure.
Where's football?
Yeah, really, we can't wait till it
right?
starts.
But it really is just such a short period of time to get these guys ready.
So you actually go to the Combine, just want to make sure I get this right, and you evaluate every player that could potentially be drafted by the Jags.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize that historically speaking, the draft started as a medical event. So all the 40-yard dash and the jumps and this and that, that's all NFL hype and getting people to watch the Combines. But it really started as a group of doctors getting together and saying, we need to know more about these players that we're about to draft. So we're all in the basement of Lucas Oil every year. We have the same group of guys in the room. There's 5 or 6 different orthopedic rooms, but we're always with the Jets, Titans, Bengals, and Chargers. And we sit in a room together, the docs and the athletic trainers, and there's one big exam table in the middle, and they parade these guys in, and we all examine them. So these guys who aren't ready for it, they don't know what's going on. They may have a doctor on the right arm, a doctor on the left knee, left ankle, but because we want to know, so we can come back to our managers and our owners and coaches and say, such and such player has a knee injury, we have to be careful about if we're going to draft them.
Well, you always hear about the 40 time and the jump, but I guess at the end of the day, it's more about the medical.
I think that's a very important thing. Obviously, the football side is important to them, but for us as a medical risk, we want to know, is this guy coming into our organization? Are they going to draft a guy that's going to have an issue that's going to start from the time he starts playing football in the NFL? So.
Right. Well, you don't want to start off. You don't want to take a big risk, right, with this player, and there's a risk there. So I guess then that's what it's all about, right?
Right. I mean, you want to minimize that.
And what do? You said you rank them.
Yeah, so every team has a little bit different ranking system, but it's all very similar. We can rank guys, healthy guys, and a lot of times kickers and punters are the healthiest guys there. And so they'll be the lowest risk. And as you get higher and higher, and the majority of these guys, realistically speaking, have had an injury, right? And some of them had surgery. And so guys that come in, we get MRIs. I think this year we did 529 MRIs on 320 guys. So if you had surgery, if you had an injury, they go back, they take the histories all the way back to high school and before. They bring up a guy and say he had an ACL when he was a freshman in high school, had a concussion, had a shoulder injury, et cetera, et cetera. We work up the whole thing, and that happens right away. If you and I get injured, we have to go through insurance and get the MRI. We're there on the spot, and they have 17 MRI scanners that are there at Lucas Oil, and these guys get MRIs all night long, and it's an interesting process.
So you mentioned that you'll have to go back. There were some players that you couldn't see, so you're actually going to go back up there before the draft.
Yeah, it's more players that either weren't cleared. Some players didn't come because it was too much of a risk for them. Their agents may have told them, don't go to the Combine, you just had surgery, et cetera. Usually it's about 30 or 40 guys that come back for the rechecks. And it's just a way for us to get a final look. We're right now 20-something days away from the draft, so it's a final look so that when we meet with Caldwell and Coach Bradley and the athletic trainer Scott Trulack and myself can sit down and go through all the guys that they're interested in.
So what is draft day like? You're involved with that as well.
Yeah, it's exciting. I finish usually my day in the office, either surgery or my office, and then head right over to the stadium. And they have
because it's an event now.
It is an event. It is an event. And I'm sitting, there's a war room where the coaches and the scouts and obviously Dave Caldwell is sitting making selections, and we sit in our room off to the side, have all the charts, and I have all my knee models and shoulder models and elbow models, so that if the time comes and they're trying to decide between a couple players and they want the medical side of things, they can ask me to go through the chart, and I can give them my advice, medically speaking, of course, as to the risks of each player.
So I guess then when they're getting ready to draft someone, they'll probably look at you and get a thumbs up, right?
Well, yeah. It's a matter of minimizing risk. I could make a player the riskiest guy in the draft, but truth be told, if they really like the guy, and they can take a risk on that. They want to know these things. So for instance, last year, if you look at who we drafted first, Dante Fowler, medically speaking, we were high-fiving. He was the healthiest guy on the board. Very rare to have an injury, a guy that comes in that injury-free. But even stuff like that, random stuff can happen. So
you just never know.
You never know. You never know. So.
Well, I guess so. You don't know. I mean, you don't know who the Jags are going to draft. Nobody knows.
No.
But I guess in just looking at it, do you think they'll be more heavy on defense?
He holds that so close to Caldwell, and those guys do. I mean, and I grew up in Jacksonville, so I'm a huge fan. So in addition to just being a doctor, separate from being a fan, it looks that way to me, right? I mean, they have a great offense right now, and you'd think they'd be looking at some defensive players, and they've made such huge leaps and bounds every year, and so it's an exciting time. So.
Well, I know I'm a fan as well,
Yep.
and I mean our expectations are growing now
they
every
are,
year.
they
So
are.
as you can see the progress that they're making.
No question, and the culture is unbelievable in there. The way Gus Bradley really has the team together. They're a young group of guys. They're all excited. Those victories are, they'll come as time goes on. I feel like that, and so I think everybody's working together, and it's exciting. I think they're doing a great job.
Well, with all your work with the Jags, I mean, I'm sure you don't get out to as many high school games anymore.
I still go to my Atlantic Coast high school
Do you
games.
really?
I cover
Still
the
go
game.
to Atlantic Coast?
I do. When I travel with the Jaguars, we leave Saturday. So my wife doesn't like me being away on a Friday night and then Saturday and Sunday. But Atlantic Coast, those were kind of my roots. Atlantic Coast and the Sharks, and I'm still helping out a little bit with the Sharks as well when I can. But I enjoy that. It's a different type of game, high school and collegiate sports, and then professional. It's just a different type of game, so it's fun being out there.
Well, you love the passion at the high school level.
No question.
I mean, the fans. So, what's your typical week like during football season, man? It seems like, do you have a life?
It's busy. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, so that's full time too. But
boy or girl?
I have a 1-year-old girl and almost 3-year-old boy.
Is he going to be a football player?
If he wants to be,
If he wants to be,
I'd let him play.
Yeah.
But the work week is busy during football season. Obviously, Sunday's game day, whether it's home or away. We get back from being away or a home game, I may order X number of MRIs. In NFL football, there's really no such thing as a healthy game, so to speak. So there's always MRIs we order, and I'll either review those Sunday night late or Monday morning. I have an injury clinic at the stadium where I go there before I start my clinic here. And then come back here, I do my normal clinic, see my normal patients. Monday's a very busy day because I'm talking to players, coaches, general managers, and agents. The agents have a big role in this whole process, which is interesting.
Are you available to them, pretty accessible? Or?
I am. I've tried to be, and I've gotten to know a lot of them. Guys like Drew Rosenhaus, and he's on top of his players, like a lot of the agents are. But they want to know. I mean, these guys are important to them. They're there to take care of them.
Sure.
And so I try to make myself readily available, and I enjoy talking to the agents. A lot of them are so knowledgeable about all this stuff. It's interesting when you get on the phone with somebody and you start talking about a labrum, and they know what a labrum is, what it means, and it's a very interesting process. So.
Then I guess through the week you're working every day. It's a 7-day work week, right?
It is. Tuesdays is my operating room day, but usually that's what they call in the NFL Transaction Tuesday. So we'll bring in free agents, and I'll see them in the morning before surgery, 6:45, 7 in the morning, go through my day. And then Wednesday morning is another injury clinic at the stadium before my regular office hours here.
Whoa.
Thursday, I do office hours here in the morning, and then in the afternoon after practice, I go and do my final check. And that's when I meet with Gus and Dave Caldwell and the athletic trainer, and we go over the injuries, who's in, who's out, because they have to turn in their sheet to the NFL saying who's injured or who's questionable, probable, doubtful, etc. Friday's usually a operating room day for me. And then Saturday, if we're home, I get some time to myself with my family.
Or if you're home, you're out at the high school game.
Well, Friday night I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Saturday, I usually get a nice day with my family, unless we leave to go out of town, and then Sunday's game day again. So it's
Wow.
I love it. It is an unbelievable experience. I mean, there's nothing like game day on Sunday and getting them going and seeing these guys that are hurt get back.
I mean, you're just like these players and coaches for those of us, and I know a little bit about it. We follow a lot of sports, but for the average fan that watches a game, either even on Friday night or what level, a lot goes on during the week and behind the scenes, to make that game happen.
So true.
As hard as the coaches and the players and the physicians, the doctors work. I mean, there's a lot going on.
It's the amount of planning that goes behind it. Not just, you're right, in the football side of things, but these guys, it's a grueling 16-week schedule, and they are banged up and bruised and battered, and they get in there and they rehab, and they're working extremely hard. So
Well, it seems like today athletes are bigger, stronger, faster. We hear that all the time. I'm sure you see that. It's hard for me. You talk about a 16-game schedule. Sometimes you hear about maybe they should add. I don't see how they could take anymore. That's just my opinion.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
they are bigger, faster, strong. These guys are huge, and I'm not a big guy at all. So when I'm on the sideline and I'm trying to examine a 6'7" lineman, I mean they are just big guys.
That can move.
Yeah, you're right. And you got the preseason, you got the regular season, you got the postseason, and it's a toll on the body. These guys need their rest, and so it's a tough call trying to add games. But for the fans, I know they want to. So.